نبدأ جلستنا الرئيسية بمداخلة من فخامة أمينة غريب فقيم الرئيسة السابقة لجمهورية الموريشيوس، فلتتفضل مشكورة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Minister, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be in your midst, and I would like to thank again the ICESCO and Dr. Malik for associating me with this important event. The pleasure is enhanced as much I am on my first visit to this beautiful country and the city of Muscat, a city and country steeped in history going back millennia. Friends, this conference comes at an opportune time in the development trajectory of Muslim-majority countries. I would like to share with you my reflections on the need to recognize the growing importance of education, knowledge, and communication revolution, as well as the need to mobilize knowledge, science, technology, not just for sustainable development, but as major drivers of growth. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in September 2015, as part of its agenda for the next 15 years, the United Nations adopted a set of Sustainable Development Goals. They are the most sweeping, ambitious program ever undertaken with the aim towards improving the human condition. The main challenges remain as much as to how to transform the goals into meaningful actions that will touch the lives of those who need them most. Ladies and gentlemen, the population of Muslim-majority countries stand at staggering hundreds of million souls. Priming our demographic dividend, education and knowledge offer tremendous opportunities in building a valuable base of human capital that will serve as the engine for our economic transformations. Yet, the state of education in many countries across the Muslim world is characterized by patterns of educational exclusion as opposed to inclusion. According to UNESCO, many of the Muslim-majority countries of all the regions of the world have the highest percentage of primary-age girls not enrolled in school. Any sound education policy will need to ensure that educational investment address patterns of exclusion and quality across not only gender, but also location and age. Poorly trained teachers, overcrowded classrooms, and a dearth of learning materials are common problems hindering students from learning. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not think anybody has really worked out the cost of not educating women and girls. The Gender Snapshot report of the UN Women Agency found that the global cost of failing to educate young women adequately is an annual $10 trillion. Low and middle income countries will lose $500 billion over the next 5 years if they do not close the gender gap on internet use, and improving support for female farmers could add $1 trillion to global GDP. It is clear that the cost of not achieving gender equality is just way too high, but at the same time, the potential returns of doing so are also too high to ignore for societies. Someone rightly pointed out the following: if one considers education to be expensive, let's try ignorance. Second point, ladies and gentlemen, is relevance. Any effective educational strategy needs to ensure that children, youth, and adults are acquiring the relevant skills and knowledge. To do this, multiple pathways are needed. Too often, educational investment focus on formal training and not on other alternatives such as the winning combination of technical training, functional literacy, numeracy, business skills development, all of which should be closely linked to labor market demands. With the majority of 1.5 billion people in the Muslim world being under the age of 24 with high unemployment, as high as 25 countries in the Middle East, there is urgency. While formal school credentials are often highly valued by youth, their acquisition do not always help with productive employment. In some countries, adults with secondary school education account for 42% of the population, but 80% of the unemployed, indicating a crucial need to review many aspects of the education system, especially school curricula, and really focus on relevance. There is another issue I would like to touch on, is the issue of conflict sensitivity. Unfortunately, the presence or significant threat of armed conflict is relatively common in the Muslim world and faced by 2 out of 3 countries. This has profound implications for how to approach educational investment. Not only must any effective educational strategy contend with displaced population, disrupted schooling, unsafe learning environment, it must also be acutely sensitive to the political nature of education itself. More than any other sector, a country's education system is a tool for influencing and in some cases, creating national identity. Who can access education, in what language, and what is taught are all aspects of any given education system that can be manipulated to either promote divisiveness, oppression, exclusion, common drivers of armed conflict, or to mitigate them. Ladies and gentlemen, I have painted a fairly stark picture so far, yet it hasn't always been like this. Islam has a proud tradition of tolerance. We see in the history of Andalusia and Cordoba during the Inquisition. My country, which is not a Muslim majority country, in fact, Islam is a minority religion in Mauritius, I see the value of tolerance and what it brings to society. They even elected a Muslim woman for president. It remains one of the few countries in the world where within 1 square kilometer, there is a mosque, a temple, and a church. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm aware of civilization debt to Islam. It was Islam at places like Al-Azhar that carried the light of learning through so many centuries, paving the way for Europe's Renaissance and Enlightenment. It was innovation Muslim country that developed the order of algebra, our magnetic compass, tools of navigation, our mastery of pens and printing, our understanding of how disease spread and how it can be healed. Scientists such as Ibn Haytham have been centuries ahead of achievements made during Renaissance or during the Enlightenment era. Islamic culture has given us majestic arches, soaring spires, timeless poetry, cherished music and their instruments, elegant calligraphy, and places of peaceful contemplation. And throughout history, Islam has demonstrated through words and deeds the possibilities of religious tolerance and racial equality. There's a call to benchmark our education on these impressive achievements and teach our children our heritage, culture, and traditions, while recognizing that education and innovation will be the currency of the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, on another note, it has become the mantra of mainstream media, the mouthpiece of their respective funders, that Islam is intolerant to women and women leadership. But is it based on facts? It must be stated that issues of women's equality are by no means simply an issue for Islam. In Turkey, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, we've seen Muslim majority countries elect a woman to lead. Meanwhile, the struggles for women equality continues in many aspects in several countries across the world. Hopefully next month, we shall see a woman at the helm in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I reject the view that a woman who chooses to cover her hair is somewhat less equal or oppressed. I do believe that a woman who is denied education is denied equality. And it is no coincidence that countries where women are well educated are far more likely to be prosperous. I'm convinced that our daughters can contribute just as much to our societies as our sons. Our common prosperity will be advanced by allowing all humanity, men and women, to reach their full potential. I do not believe that women must make the same choices as men in order to be equal, and I respect those women who choose to live their lives in traditional roles. I believe it is their choice. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to discuss economic development and opportunity. I know that for many, the face of globalization is contradictory. The internet and television can bring violence and offensive sexuality, mindless violence into the home, but it can also bring knowledge and information. Trade can bring new wealth and opportunity, but also huge disruptions and change in communities. This change can bring fear. Fear that because of modernity we lose control of our economic choices, our politics, and most importantly, our identities. Those things we most cherish about our communities, our families, our traditions, and our faith. But I also know that human progress cannot be denied. There's no need not be contradictions between development and tradition. Countries like Japan and South Korea grew their economies enormously while maintaining distinct cultures. The same is true for astonishing progress made within the Muslim majority countries, from Indonesia to Dubai. In ancient times, in our times, Muslim communities have been at the forefront of innovation and education. And this is important because no development strategy can be based only upon what comes out of the ground, nor can it be sustained while young people are out of work. Many Gulf countries have enjoyed great wealth, and as a consequence of oil, and some even with a vast oil wealth, are beginning to focus it on broad economic development. In too many Muslim communities, there still remains underinvestment. We now have to seek broader engagement and not forgetting the people, because it is with them that develop can and will happen. I thank you for your attention.